I dig into the DevSecOps and I figure out that DevOps knowledge is the most important thing for DevSecOps or doing the automation security. And if you don't know this part, you cannot understand what is going on in the DevOps. Actually, right now, most of the DevOps things are in cloud native
Yeah.
ecosystem, so you have to have a good understanding about this. Security is not the first thing in the startup, so
Yeah.
I build lots of DevOps things with the security in mind. Every time I implement something security in the DevOps ecosystem, then we face the slowness. So I had to figure out what is the best for developers to deal with it. And this is the point that you figure out that DevOps is good, but you have to be a developer or you have to have the feeling of the developer that you don't like these tools because of this and this and these problems that you make you slow.
Welcome to the season 3 of The Elephant in AppSec, the podcast to explore, challenge, and boldly face the AppSec elephants in the room. I'm Alexandra, your host and AppSec enthusiast and growth manager at Escape. Today, I'm joined by Iman Ilbag, a DevSecOps engineer at KPN, one of the leading telecom providers in the Netherlands. Previously, as the sole DevSecOps engineer at Snappfood, he secured 70 plus projects and trained hundreds of security champions. He is passionate about security automation and open source, always looking for ways to improve security practices. I was introduced to Iman through a referral from James Berthoty, a previous podcast guest. In this episode, we dive why a solid understanding of DevOps is essential before implementing DevSecOps and how the cultural aspects of security often outweigh the tools themselves. We also explore the limitations of SPM tools, the role of Defect Dojo in effective vulnerability management, and why selecting the right security tools is critical for success. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and follow it on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube. It's the best way to avoid missing future episodes. With that, get ready to hear Iman's opinions. Dive right in. Hi, Iman. I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today with me. Thanks a lot for joining and finding the time. I think it's a bit probably easier also to stay inside with the weather that's a bit more
Yeah.
rainy. But yeah, I'm happy to chat together with you. And it was a pleasure, meeting you in person as well at the Cloud Expo event and hearing you that you already knew podcast. So that's very nice.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for asking to join this podcast. I listened to it, as you said, but yeah, um, I'm glad that I'm here, and everything that I'm saying is my idea, actually. So
Yeah.
I,
So
I
now,
listen to other podcasts, yeah.
yeah.
So if I say something is the paved road, it is not. It's only my idea.
Okay. Okay, of course. It makes sense. And yeah, you had quite a fascinating journey that we talked about, before that you started. The security, it was not like linear. You didn't start immediately in the security. Started, I think, as a programmer in C, if I'm not mistaken, before you actually finished high school.
Yes.
Yeah. And then kind of evolved into the security role and security engineer and tester. Right, and
Understand.
then
Red teamer.
you've done also DevOps, been
Yeah.
doing DevOps at startup. So I remember, from scratch actually at 2 startups,
Yes.
and it's not. I know working in startups, it's not that easy sometimes. You
It's
have to,
interesting and
yeah,
is not easy.
yeah, for sure, interesting, yeah, for sure. You learn, I think, a lot
A lot, yeah.
every day. So what did you learn there about not only maybe automation, because I think you worked at DevOps, but also, trying to put security which first, but which not be maybe all first in startups
No, no,
at
for
all.
startups, no. Yeah, so I tried to DevOps fields when
Mm-hmm.
I heard about the DevSecOps term. So
Mm-hmm.
I dig into the DevSecOps and I figure out that DevOps knowledge is the most important thing for DevSecOps or doing the automation security. And if you don't know this part, you cannot understand what is going on in the DevOps. Actually, right now, most of the DevOps things are in cloud native
Yeah.
ecosystem. So you have to have a good understanding about this. So yeah, as you said, because of this, I try to be a DevOps engineer first with the security in mind. So I joined to a startup. I try to implement lots of things from scratch. And after that, you face lots of issues because I have lots of friends in DevOps and they are so professional. So I ask them, what should I do? But as you said, security is not the first thing in the startup. So
Yeah.
I build lots of DevOps things with the security in mind. Then security, I think no one can ignore that security will slow you down. So in a startups, you don't want to be slow. So every time I implement something security-ish in the DevOps ecosystem, then we face the slowness. So I had to figure out what is the best for developers to deal with it. And this is the point that you figure out that DevOps is good, but you have to be a developer or you have to have the feeling of the developer that you don't like these tools because of this and this and these problems that you make you slow or push you out of your IDs. You have to go to some browser tabs, do something out of your VS Code or any other IDs. So these are the feelings that you have to have for DevSecOps engineering. So I would say startups are really nice. I learn a lot. If I wouldn't be there in the startups, I didn't have these lots of issues and I don't have these feelings that I have now. Right now, I'm so confident to talk with developers, DevOps engineers, or ops engineers because I kind of feel that I have a good feeling and I have a confidence to talk with them and I know what they want and what they don't want.
Which
So
is
yeah,
quite important.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The second part is more important.
Yeah.
And yeah, a startup is good, but you cannot implement the DevSecOps that you can implement in the big companies with lots of people that they have a dedicated jobs. And because you are a DevOps person, I was a DevOps person in a startup, then I had to install even mail servers. So it's a
Yeah.
wide area. You cannot focus on the small things and improve one thing very well. That's my story for startups.
Were the developers, for example, in the startups that you worked, did they already have some security mindset within them as well? Because I know, at Escape, we have most of our developers, they have security mindset. Like they go themselves to WASP meetups.
Yeah,
They actually build the open source tools that are dedicated to security. Like we have, half of the day each week open source day, and they build those tools that are dedicated to security. But it's also security startup, so which
yeah,
may be
exactly.
different. Did you have that experience, or was it a bit of uphill battle sometimes that you were kind of isolated and the only one thinking about?
Yeah, I think your your situation is exceptional because
Okay.
you're working in a security company. In general, when even I was pen tester,
Mm,
there is not a good understanding of the security, being a security mind developer, but
mm,
because I think you can be a security mind even if you are not developer, but it depends how much you are.
mhm,
So for example, you know that you can, let's say the professional developers knows that they should not use secrets in their repos or put them in the repos.
mhm,
But maybe they don't know what is the best way to deal with it. So I would say most of the senior developers have some security minded, but
mhm,
it's based on what percentage of that security minded. So right now I'm dealing with lots of developers. They are really good at doing some fundamentals, but if you go further, then maybe they understand and accept you.
mhm.
But sometimes there is the issue that you have to prove it. And one of the things that I had in my previous jobs when you say that, for example, even in the API security, if you say that this is not a secure API, hacker can do this theoretically, then they ask you, can you prove it? This is the
I see.
question that you will see. Yeah, you will hear a lot that can you prove that this is insecure and can you say, do it in action, what you are saying? And this is the thing that maybe you cannot do that because it's not a public exploit or it's not easy to exploit, but you know theoretically that this is not good. And yeah, these are the challenges. So it's based on yeah, the conclusion would be that the senior developers have the security mind nowadays, rather than 6 years ago, but it's not a fully. So you will have some security champions programs or trying to add the security in your culture, in your company, doing and moving forward.
Did you have like, because you mentioned that you have to always prove it, did you have a moment in your career when you felt like, yes, I succeeded, to prove it, and now they believe in me? Like, do you have a story like that?
Yeah, sometimes I had
Yeah.
that. Sometimes I say just, yeah, challenge accepted, and I spend days or weeks to prove that this is wrong. But right now I figure out that this is not the best way to do that because
What
you
is the best way?
actually, you have to convince a developer or the operational engineer that this is not good, but not in the security language. So you have to put it away, the security
Okay.
part, and you have to talk with the developer or the operation engineer as they say and their language. So yeah, this is the best way that I find out, but maybe there is another.
I think it depends a lot
Yeah,
probably on the organizational culture and the relationships and the amount of teams and developers. Quite often also hear advice that even it depends on the team, like you have to find an approach, a personalized approach to each engineering team and their engineering leader, because some people just want a checklist. Some people would just want they prefer actually a training and spending time with them. Some people prefer to actually like hard implemented rules or something like that. So
yeah,
I don't personally know, but I think it's very human related, and you have to indeed find the
exactly.
right approach for your organization and for your company and for potentially even a team. I don't
Yeah,
know.
in my
Mm.
opinion, you have to be a friend. Right now, if we as a team, DevSecOps team in the company, we want to announce something or wants to mention something, we will use at the end of the message that we are your friends, security
Mm.
friends. And we talk not directly because I know lots of my friends in the security field that they think that security has a high priority and high authority, so
Mhm.
we can just say something to someone and he or she should obey. And this is the old way I learned that security, but nowadays I just type friendly to that person and show him or her that I understand what you are saying, but please understand what is my concerns. And this is the best way. I tried this in startups and big companies. So as you said, the humanity and how you want to communicate is really important.
Yeah, for sure. I think communication is important with the developers, even with senior leaders. I think as well for you to defend your project, have to approve them with 50 people. It's you need to find a way to communicate, with everyone. When we met, you also mentioned, James Berthoty and
Yeah.
his list as well. And recently, like, I came across a post of him where he mentioned like the best way, to start with the DevSecOps. It's very simple. You implement branch protection rules. Do you
Mhm.
agree with this statement based on your experience, since you kind of started it from scratch? Or you think there is kind of more effective starting point?
Yeah, actually, yeah, James is one of the best in DevSecOps field, and I think he's right, but it depends. That's how much you want to protect the branch. If you annoy that person or that team, they will ignore you. This is another, yeah, this is another thing that I have in my experience. If you push a lot, they will start with you, but if you push a lot and a lot more and more, then they will at the insane point, one point they will say, okay, we're done. And they will delete all the process that you just came. I had this issue. Or if you're not really okay with what you implemented, for example, if secret detection or SaaS is not really easy to deal with it, they will not follow your structures. Or if you say that, okay, we want to protect the branch, then you have to have a 3 approval for each PR, or every developers in the team should, approve it, or 2 person from security team should approve it. Then they say, okay, you're making us so slow, so we ignore this part. And yeah, this is the thing. So it really depends. If you see the security culture as a DevSecOps job description, I would say cultural things are more important than the tools that you want to use in your DevSecOps ecosystem. But protecting the branch can be one step of the cultural things because it's before any other tools and it's mostly related to your platform, Git platform that you're using. So maybe this is a good start.
And in terms of like the tools, what do you think is the good start for someone who's just starting?
For the tools?
Yeah.
I think there is 3 fundamental things that you have to have when you go to the DevSecOps ecosystem. One SaaS, one secret detection as a proactivity, and the SCA right now. These 3 are the things that can be done in the developer ID even before pushing anything to the Git. So these are the 3 easiest steps to prevent lots of errors and issues.
I think it is easy, but what I also seen is that the market it's moving a lot towards platformization. They don't want to install any. At least it's not gonna happen like overnight. And I think those tools are still very important because of compliance part. But more and more those tools become a part of what called ASPM, and James is a very big advocate for ASPMs as well. Like probably, the point solution scanners will eventually either partner with ASPMs if they don't have because a lot of ASPMs they're wrappers of some tools.
Yeah.
Some honest about it, but I think some have native scanners, but they struggle with for example, Dast. At least that's what I know because they reach out to us for partnerships, etc. So I know that this is for example, Dast is a bit hard. So do you think platformization is actually going to be the future? What the timeline would you see there?
Yeah, first of all, Dash is not working.
Yeah, most of industry things. I mean, if they use Qualys, at least.
Yeah, I would say that Dash in the past has some definition, but with the single page applications, it changed. You cannot use the Dash as you use it 6 or 7 years ago. And and this is why they're changing that to API security. I think this is a good change, but let's say API security is better if companies can reduce the manual steps. Yeah, these are what we are dealing with.
By manual steps, do you mean uploading specs, setting up notification?
Yeah, exactly. So we are dealing with, and you have to upload your, as you say, OS or JSON files or Postman collection, and then you have to set the targets, but target is in the Postman collection mostly. So these are the manual steps that it's not fitting the DevSecOps ecosystem, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else is just automated and you need only the Git. And this is the dashboard, but ASPM, I think ASPM is very nice, but I this is really my idea, unpopular opinion, that we are focusing a lot on ASPM. We want force the ASPM to give us some shiny context,
Mm.
but I think it cannot do that. At least what I saw some platforms before, they want to give you some knowledge or context from all the reports they are gathering, but it's not the way that it can work, at least for me, because um,
What do
they
you
have some mechanisms and they will grab some specific, most of the ASPM platforms that they won't give you the context or the knowledge based on the reports. They support less tools because
Mhm.
they have to do some fancy things with integration all these reports together to give you some reasoning that this is the most important vulnerability that you have right now. Fix this one. So first of all, these ASPMs doesn't support lots of tools and they slowly are going to support more and more, but it's not like a parcel that you can just grab the reports in your platform. So as you know, and we discussed before, like Defect Dojo, because it just say that I'm the vulnerability management platform. And it exists before any ASPM, I remember. So maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I know, Defect Dojo was there before any ASPM, and it's simple. It says that okay, if you want reports from, for example, Escape, just give us the example of the report.
Mhm.
You can contribute and create a parser. You will have it in the Defect Dojo. And there is no context, I think, as far as I know. I don't know the pro version, but there's no context or knowledge-based things that it will give you that this is the best vulnerability that you can fix now. And you can decide based on the CVSS, CVE, or I think they add the EPSS too. And you can decide as a AppSec engineer which one is good or not, and you can grab the developers and decide which issue that you gather from the secret detection stats, that's everything for a specific project is the most important thing. And it's quite wide. I think they support 150 tools. So your hands are open and all the options are on the table that you can pick any tools that you want, even if it is free version or the paid version. So I think all the ASPMs in the future will add the AI
I
because
think there are some already have an AI behind the context, which kind of, yeah.
yeah, all the companies are adding, even the McDonald's I think can add the AI now.
Yeah. It's, I think you don't, sometimes some people don't even maybe realize to 100% to what point it's integrated within the company, within all the departments and how much they're using it, but it's very interesting to see that, yeah, we discussed before that you like Defect Dojo, because what I've seen is that it's quite popular among, like younger generation of DevSecOps professional, because I already talked about it before. So it's in someone usually who comes really from the automation background, because I think then it's easy to also to get hands-on and to use, because it's open source. So you can actually integrate it. But someone maybe who comes from a slightly less technical background, it can be maybe a bit more challenging to implement, because you mentioned as well, like you want to be the one who decides for each project, how
Yeah.
you prioritize vulnerabilities, but it takes time. So how do you decide on that? Especially, for such a, work with a very large company. So how do you decide?
Yeah, actually, you're right. So it's easier to just pick a ASPM that cover and has the internal tools for any part of
Mm.
your stages. But if you want the best one, For example, best one for the SaaS, best one for the desk. This is a longer story. And yeah, I agree. But you should see that which one is better for you and your company. You can decide that, okay, we buy this one. And I don't see any reason for DevSecOps team after that. You can work on culture, you can communicate with developers, invite them to use this platform. But if you don't decide what is the next step, what we want, is this tool is good or not, and if you just go for the general ASPM and best of the suite, then you cannot decide anything more because you just bought the ASPM for 1 year or 2 years and you cannot deal more than this. But if you want to choose for each stages, then in my idea, you have to have some candidates, and this is where James' site is good to check all the candidates, and then you will pick 4 or 5 candidates for each of the stages, for example, for the SaaS or DaaS, and then you will have the good candidates. Then you will create a good environment for testing them if it's for SaaS. Or again, after that, you have some requirements based on your company and needs of your company, and you will just score them. And at the end, the biggest one is the winner.
With the biggest, the one with the biggest score. Yeah.
Is the winner. So and in this way you are so confident that this is the good tool for your company and you can defend your for anyone, even CISO ask you why you choose this tool or any developer. You have lots of documents, lots of reasons, lots of test cases, POCs that you're really okay with this one. And mostly they are agree because, yeah, again, you know what they want, what others want, what the CISO wants from the security perspective, and you just gather all of them, test the good tools, and pick the one. It costs more time.
Yeah.
And
It costs a lot of time.
yeah, exactly. I talked with James and we decided that it takes lots of time, but it is the best tool that you can find.
Like the best process to evaluate, the tooling overall and to implement it internally.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the CISO before, we also talked, about how you need to have a good communication within the organization. Like how would you, for example, communicate maybe the value, of automation? Like DevSecOps is a lot also about automation, the value, of automating something but on, I don't know, by X% better to someone who's more C-level.
Yeah, the good thing that most of the big companies have the security team before DevSecOps, and they saw that how many vulnerabilities and issues fixed during that time, and how many is fixing now with the DevSecOps and the automation. And you don't need really doing really hard to convince them. You can present that, okay, we had these amount of SCA vulnerabilities. We reached to the team, we talked to them, showed them the vulnerabilities, which one is more important. Then they fix it. And we instruct that this is, you can rebuild it. You didn't rebuild it for 2 years. If you rebuild it, most of the SCA will go. This is the SaaS problem. You don't use the verification of the SSL. Use this in your function, it's done. In this way, they see, at least in my cases and my companies, they see that it's fixing faster and more efficient. I didn't present anything to CISO. Yeah, this is how it shows.
Yeah. What is the automation that you're the most proud of that you've implemented in your career?
Yeah, the last company that I work with, I implement the whole ecosystem and with the Defect Dojo and with the Jira integration. So developers just add 2 or 3 lines in their pipelines. Everything will be done. and they will only get the Jira tickets, some Jira tickets in their own boards, and that's it. That's the whole
Okay.
process, and it's transparent from the developers. They see the tickets with the description, why this is the issue, how to fix it, the links to the some references, and that was a nice because they just fixed it. If they had any question, they reach out to me and ask the question. We talk about the issue. Sometimes they convince me that this is not a real issue,
Yeah.
and sometimes I convince them that this is the issue and you have to fix it.
Were you the one who did the most convincing, or vice versa?
Now they reach to me.
They reached out.
Because I implement the security champion program. So
Mhm.
each team has one security champion. Those are the contact points for each team. And we know each other. We had a team Slack group. So we
Okay.
communicate there, and the communication was friendly. So we were actually friends. If they had any question, they ask.
Okay, so the communication was actually still very important
Exactly.
part of it, like, despite the automation. What happened when, for example, they received the ticket, they came to you, when they closed it, without feedback? Was it were you automatically notified as well?
Yeah, I will notify from email that Defect Dojo sent, and you will see that this vulnerability will be closed in the Defect Dojo.
Okay, I see. And I always have a question for the younger generation. Since you've been so hands-on, what when they, for example, start in a startup in a DevOps, or say in SecOps, or what are the top 3 things that you would recommend them to focus on, like really to have that focus when they to build something that's kind of sustainable long term? Because quite often in startups we build things that are maybe not so sustainable long term but quick. So what would you recommend them?
First of all, having a good understanding of 3 fields,
Mhm.
DevSec and Ops. The second one is working with the cloud native applications, because I think in the future most of the things will be go to the cloud native, and if you don't know them, you cannot do anything.
Mhm.
The third one is working on your soft skill. I'm working on my soft skills too, because I wasn't like this, so I try hard to be more friendly, more flexible. So yeah, soft skill is really hard to achieve, and it's really important. So if you had a good soft skill, you can do everything. It's not important even for DevSecOps, for the general life.
For sure.
But yeah, these are the 3 things that I would suggest for younger generation.
Do you think then DevSecOps initially it should sit within the tech team, like DevOps, DevSecOps, and
Tech
then
team? Yeah.
gradually, like at least gradually, then when it grows, then it can become a security part. But in the beginning, it should really be, do you think, more like engineering, maybe separate role that reports just to CT?
I think we have some security parts like privacy that they are less technical,
Mm-hmm.
but for the DevSecOps, you deal mostly with the technical parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not say you cannot be a DevSecOps engineer from security part, but
Yeah.
yeah, I prefer that you be a developer or SR engineer or ops engineer, and then combine the security with it, because it's easier to understand it. Even it's easier for you to understand the security, because in my opinion, security is age of something. If you are a security engineer in web application, so you know the web application very well, you're working in the security, which is the age of the, for example, web application. So yeah, this is my opinion.
And in the future, what do you think is kind of indispensable for DevSecOps engineers, for them to actually be performant. I mean, apart from the soft skills, of course, but I think soft skills is even now. What do you think is maybe outside of security? Like I'm using tools like automation tools like Zapier and N10, which helps to also automate through API calls. What do you think would be like for them so critical to know? Cloud in addition to like general knowledge. Maybe if you get more specific, like a specific tool, would you recommend?
I would not say any tools, but Linux.
Linux, okay.
It's weird, but knowing the kernels and Windows internals every time helps me because it's hard to achieve this knowledge, but it's gorgeous because you know something that lots of people don't know, and you face an issue that you easily can find out what's happening under the Linux or Windows, and it's really nice. The second one, if I would say, I recommend prompt engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays AI kind of
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Yes.
I think
Exactly.
almost daily, or creating your own custom
Yeah.
GPTs to basically help you. Yeah, I think I've done one, and I
Exactly.
like.
Just act
Yeah,
very specifically and with details. Then you will have the solution or semi-solution.
yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, sometimes so you tweak some of the things
Yeah.
you want a little bit too, but it's interesting about Linux because in Linux, that's what I see if I want to do pen testing. It's something that's kind of very recommended then to install like Yakali on it, and yeah, that's
Perfect.
a bit. I agree that it is hard. It is
Yeah.
just having Linux. It's
But
easier,
it
but
worth it.
yeah, okay, yeah. And the last thing I always ask on the podcast, if you would have a book to recommend, what would it be? Or like training materials for people.
Yeah, the book that I recommend is, yeah, I prepared it. Let me check the name.
Yeah, you're very prepared.
Yeah. Now I listened before, so I know that you will ask this.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah. It's the Crucial Conversations Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. It's
Okay,
long
it
name,
is
but
long.
yeah. Crucial Conversations Tools for Talking with Stakes When Stakes Are High.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so
It's
how
related to
did the
the
book?
soft skills.
Yes, so I think that's the book you read to progress on that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think in security stakes are high quite
Yeah. Lots of people suggest the technical books, so I just think that this is better to suggest this book.
I think both are important 100%, especially in security where
Yeah.
you quite often you do have technical skills, but that's the
Yeah.
soft skills that it might be lacking. Thank you so much, Iman, for coming on the
Thank you.
podcast and sharing your experience. It was great. I love that you challenged the ASPM point of view and you had your unpopular opinion. That was fun. Thank you. And yeah, I hope to see you in person soon and talk soon as well.
Yeah, thank you. That was a nice talk. Thank you for giving me this time.